Are they considered
they are
Israeli citizens?
Yeah. I'll tell you what they're considered. They're considered.
Well, then why would it make the news? Why would it make the news that they're denied Israeli citizenship?
They're 100% considered Israeli citizens. They're 100% considered ethnic Jews. And they're asked by the Rabbanut, the rabbinical courts of Israel, to undergo what's called a Giur L'Chumrah, which is a conversion according to not knowing what's happened over generations with certain people. Now there's also a group of Ethiopians whose Jewish ethnicity is questionable, who are, meaning not all the Ethiopians even go through this conversion L'Chumrah, like this, how do you say L'Chumrah in English?
Stringent.
No, but it's like an easier conversion. It's not even a stricter one. It's like an easier conversion, but because we don't know the whatever. But so there's there's Jews who come from Ethiopia who are like 100% accepted. We know you're Jewish, whatever. And there are people who come from Ethiopia who there's doubts that they were Jewish. They were converted to Christianity at some point, and people don't know what's going on with them. So they're asked to do certain things before they get the citizenship.
What I'm having trouble understanding is why is the religion or ethnicity of a person taken into account so strongly as to be for him to be a citizen of Israel?
Because it's a nation state, it's an ethnic country and not a civic country. In America or Canada, you have what's called civic nationalism, meaning that you can be a Jew, you can be an Arab, you could be black, you can be Hispanic, you can be Irish, and you can be an American at the same time, right? Japanese are Japanese, right? In Japan, you're Japanese. It's an ethnic nationality, right? Now, I understand that there are a lot of countries in the world that used to be defined as ethnic national countries, especially in Europe, that are no longer. Israel, or, I mean, this is problematic for a lot of the Middle East because of things that have happened historically with basically Arabians taking over the Middle East. But Jews, you know, like Maronites, like Alawites, like Kurds, are an indigenous Middle Eastern people that was disenfranchised by Western imperialists. Essentially, white people came into our country, destroyed our national framework, destroyed our temple, uprooted us from our soil, exiled us from our land, sold us into slavery. I was born in New York City. Neither one of my parents were born in the United States, and neither one of my parents have grandparents who were born in the same country they were born in. You know, for 2,000 years we wandered, we were homeless. I don't want to give you a history lesson on the Jewish people, but it's clear that we never forgot where we came from. Every wedding, every house of mourning, every life cycle event, every holiday, next year in Jerusalem, we're always trying to come home. And we are home, and a lot of us never left. And quite frankly, if you ask me, I believe the majority of Palestinians are actually Jews too, who were converted to Islam over the centuries. And a lot of Palestinians say that. And if you go to villages like Yatta near Hebron, pretty much everybody in the village has a tradition that they're descendants of Bar Kokhba. Do you know Bar Kokhba was?
City?
No, Bar Kokhba was an anti-Roman revolutionary in the year 132.
Okay.
But he was defeated in 135, but the Palestinians in Yatta claim to be his descendants.
Okay, well what I'm asking is, you're saying that you want a home. That's fine. That's fine. No one's saying that Israelis shouldn't have a home, that they should call Israel, and they should have a right to call, you know, have a Jewish state.
Right.
But why are you denying others the right to live in that state?
I'm not. You're not. When did I?
Well, so then why are
anybody here
considered part of Israel?
I said yes. I shook your hand. I said yes. Citizenship.
Okay,
yes.
so I'm talking about the other people in the room who want to strictly keep it an Israeli, Jewish, Hebrew state.
Yes, but everybody gets citizenship.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
So
because they would be
equal citizenship.
Right. Yeah, but they would be equal citizenship living in the nation state of the Jewish people.
All Israel. That's fine.
Everybody else in the room that says
why is that problematic?
Because the second that Muslims or non-Jews become a majority in this Jewish
they don't want the Muslims to have the majority.
First of all, I have no problem giving everybody citizenship and taking that gamble. I think that the real demographic threat in Israel is not coming from the Arab sector. The real demographic threat in Israel is coming from the Haredi sector, meaning that 20 years from now, the religious take over Israel.
That's also possible.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, look, I have lots of friends in Ramallah who are older than me with no kids. I have 4 kids already, and there are people, they're Jews with more kids than me. I think that we can all have babies, we can all live in Israel, and whoever takes over takes over. But I think that in the meantime, you can't expect a population to be content living under a military bureaucracy. Like, you have to treat people equally.
So
you have
what's
to
the problem with 2 states?
Because there's several problems with 2 states. Okay? First of all, it's a tiny country. Second of all, the Jewish people, actually, like if we're talking about justice, legal disputes and whatever, the Jewish people, prior to 1948, the last indigenous people to enjoy sovereignty, self-determination, self-governance between the Mediterranean and the Jordan were the Jews, right? If you could show me a time in history, prior to 1948, since the Jews had sovereignty, where other people had that sovereignty, I'd be happy to have that conversation, but it doesn't exist. Now, I acknowledge other people were living there, right? But you know what? Jews were living in Iraq before the Arabs got there. For 3,000 years, Jews were living in Iraq until they were violently expelled in 1948, and nobody today claims that Jews have a right to a state in Iraq. Living somewhere doesn't give you right to sovereignty. Jews live in Brooklyn. It doesn't give them right to collect taxes or put up a flag. Meaning living somewhere doesn't mean you have the right to govern.
They can receive a state not because they have a right, they can receive it because they have a desire.
Okay,
And
so who should run that state?
desire.
A bunch of American puppets, a former economist for the World Bank named Salam Fayyad?
Obviously not.
Then who?
Palestinians.
But let me ask you a question. So
Fayyad is great.
Fayyad is great.
I think so too.
He's a Western puppet. Who does oppress his own people?
I mean, so you say that that the Jews don't have a right to set up a state in Iraq, and that seems pretty plain. But what I don't understand is, you say that if the Jews are indigenous Middle Eastern people, and they have a right to this land, or to settle in this land, to build Jewish cities in this land, why wouldn't they have a right to build Jewish cities in Iraq by the logic that you're putting through? Because I feel that Palestine...
I didn't say they don't. I said they have no right to govern in Iraq.
Okay.
That's it.
Sovereignty is the question.
Sovereignty.
Exactly. I just
You
want
could live wherever you want.
Country.
You could live wherever you want.
Yeah.
Palestinians can live wherever they want. Iraqis can live wherever they want. Jews can live wherever they want.
But
when we're talking about ownership in terms of political sovereignty, whose flag is up?
Right.
Whose national anthem is the national anthem of that territory, right?
Okay.
Who controls the borders? That's an issue of who has a right to ownership. And that has to be decided based on justice, based on history, based on historic record. You can't just say, look, the problem here is, and I think you seem to agree with me before, I hope you agree with me again, that the majority of Palestinians are much more interested in being treated like equal citizens than they are in having their own state.
Okay, but what I'm telling you
Yes?
is the problem with that, I'm for it.
Okay.
And you're for it.
Great.
But the problem with that solution is that
The West isn't for it. The problem is that the West isn't for it.
And the people in power for Israel are not for it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm telling you
I don't
that
agree
when
with
the
everything my government
Palestinians, if the Palestinians get a right to vote and they become part of Israel,
Mhm.
okay, they would outnumber the Jewish
Well, that's what
Jewish
you
people
said.
there. Exactly.
That's what you said.
That's
and
the only
they
place
would,
that we disagree on, is he's saying they won't outnumber and I'm saying they will.
no,
Right, I
they
don't
will.
think,
But assuming
But
that
there's
they
a
will
mechanism
outnumber.
for that number where that number isn't automatically a mass number. You deal with
Because
representation.
but let me tell you,
United
60% of
States
Jordan,
is that way.
60% of Jordan is 65% of Jordan is Palestinian.
I think more than
And-
65%.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and when they
65?
find out
Really? Really 65?
65%.
I think it's a
No,
little
it's
easily
lot
high.
more.
65%.
Not 90?
No, not 90.
Really?
Not that
It's about
high.
80.
I think that a lot of people in this room would, I'm sorry for going to what you were saying, but a lot of people in this room think that would agree with you that whenever that will happen, the solution that you are talking about, Palestinians will become majority. And I think a lot of people in this room might think that when that will happen, the new majority in Israel will not allow the Jewish people in Israel to live at all.
Okay, first of all, the thing wrong with that is that under Salah ad-Din or up until recently, the Muslims never had an issue with the Jews.
They had for
Okay,
the
the Christians, they're called the Crusaders.
killed all the Jews in Medina.
Do you understand? Do you understand the context of this? Do you understand the
There
context
was
of
a
that?
Jewish
Hold on.
tribe
Do you understand the context of that?
It's
14-year-old
Okay, do you understand the context?
Medina.
You know you're in the Middle East. You know we're all indigenous to the Middle East because everyone's bursting into everyone's.
Okay, just let me explain to you the context of that. The Jews in Medina, the act that they committed was what? Treason.
No,
It was treason.
no, what did they do?
Now,
Can I
treason.
ask you a question? Show of hands, who here has heard of Solomon Farsi? Solomon Farsi. You know Solomon Farsi? He was Muhammad's war chief. You know, he was a Zionist.
Salman and Farsi.
Okay, I don't know how to say it. I'm saying it in English. He was a Zionist. No, I want to give the story here. Solomon Farsi, how do you say it?
I think you're referring to Salman al-Farisi. I don't know. I
Okay,
have to hear the
sure.
story.
Is that what we're referring to?
Yeah, he's a Persian.
He was a Zionist revolutionary who fought the Byzantines, was sold into slavery, was bought by Muhammad, and became Muhammad's war chief. I think there's room to cooperate.
No, he was not Zionist.
He was fighting the Byzantines to free Palestine for the Jews.
No, that's
Yes, his brother was Nehemiah, the leader of the Zionist revolution in that generation.
But what the story you're referring to, is when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ went to war, he had a pact with the Jews, they reverted on their pact, and they committed treason. Now, any country you commit treason, it is punishable by death. Okay, so it's not outrageous that he killed the Jews that committed treason. Now, you just
what was
took it out
that
of.
treason?
They went to the other side and they were spies for the other side. For Quraysh, you have to read the story.
Well,
What you're talking about, you're taking it out of context. Maybe you read it out of some magazine. But I'm telling you,
You're telling me
there was one tribe that did that. There are multiple tribes that a treaty was signed with, and I mean, like, I really think that there should be a history lesson. First of all, I don't know, but there were multiple tribes that signed with. There was one Jewish tribe that did, like he said, commit treason. They collaborated with the Quraysh, who were in a war active.
They did not.
You're saying they didn't, and we're saying they did.
So anyway, and then when they were going to rule
you
on
can
how.
find it in some
All I'm telling you is that Muslims,
Okay.
the basis of my argument, the Muslims do not have a problem with Jews. I'm telling you, historically, presently, they do not.
Let me tell the history.
Good.
That where the problem with Jews and
I'm
Muslims
gonna take.
started.
This is not.
I'm not fighting with you, but I'm going to start from this premise for the purpose of this conversation. Because I'd like to believe he's right.
Well,
like to
you
believe
like
that.
it, but it's not what
The
really happened.
Islamic tie to Jerusalem, to this land, is illegitimate without the Jewish tie.
Correct.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
That it's that we believe that we're continuation of the lineage of the message of Ibrahim, of or Abraham,
Can I ask where we
of
fit in that message?
Moses.
That's what
yeah,
you believe,
they're
not what some Islamists
Okay.
in Palestine believe.
Okay.
That's two different issues. I was born a Muslim. I know all about this, so you can't teach me.
But I'm telling you, if you knew
Well,
all about it, you would know the story.
let me tell you what happened 14 centuries ago. There was a tribe called Bani Qurayza. It was living in Medina, near Medina, and after there was a war between Muhammad and Qurayshis, and Qurayshis attacked Medina. The Jews didn't take any part. They just stayed at their homes. They didn't do anything. But after Muhammad defeated Quraysh, he gathered the army and then went to Jews.
Okay, so you're telling me the wrong story.
Let me say what he did. There were almost 800 to 900 people in the castle. There were a few castles. He killed all the men, then enslaved all the women and children.
Okay.
So he was a prophet. He is a role model of all Muslims.
Yes.
You accept that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So,
I got to say something.
so-
We've done that too. Like our heroes have done stuff like that.
No, but
too.
what he's saying is that what Prophet Muhammad did was wrong. And what
I'm saying it's cool.
I'm saying no, it was not.
That's the problem.
I'm saying no. I'm saying that
I know.
okay, your version is that the Jews.
Guys.
That's the Middle East. That's just how we do.
Yes, alright, now guys for
That's just how it's done.
Afterwards,
I just
Let's not pretend the question.
You see, the problem that
What's so wrong?
the problem is
Hey guys, let's give each other some respect. This is a great conversation, but we gotta do it cordially.
I understand.
Alright?
I understand.
I'm saying